There are some Bible stories that are a little more mysterious than others. Take this one, for instance, Genesis chapter 4. We have a character who might not actually exist. Now the man knew his wife Eve, and she conceived, and bore Cain, saying, I have produced a man with the help of the Lord. Next she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain a tiller of the ground. Cain is born, and his mother gives him a name, Cain. And then she explains the name. I have produced. That phrase, I have produced, or that word produced, sounds very similar in the original to the word Cain. Cain is a product. Cain is also a producer of produce, a tiller of the ground. But Abel gets no definition, no explanation. We're left with no understanding of what his name means or why that particular name. And here's what's interesting to me. The word for Abel, the figures that make up his name, found in other places, other contexts in literature, mean something like vanity, nothingness, incomprehensibility, ephemerality, absurdity, breath, vapor. Abel is nothing. Abel might not exist. And in fact, by the end of the story, Abel's completely vanished into thin air. He's gone from nothing to nowhere. God asks, where is your brother Abel? And Cain answers, I do not know. In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel, for his part, brought of the firstlings of his flock their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. This looks to be a story of simple jealousy. God has favor for Abel's offering, he does not have favor for Cain's offering, but there's something more that's happening here. The Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is lurking at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must master it. Cain said to his brother Abel, Let us go out to the field. Here we have a clue as to what the story might actually be about. Yes, the story comes right after the story of the fall, and so it's easy to see this as a story of righteous and unrighteous, of good attitudes versus negative attitudes. But there's some clues that suggest this story is a lot bigger than a story of an interaction between two brothers. First, we have a brother who might not actually exist, who might be nothing, who might be a stand-in for a tribe or a people group. Second, we have a sin that's undefined. They both brought offerings. The word for offering is the same in both locations. There's nothing that's given to us as a clue as to an attitude or a stance that might offend God. But we do have a clue as to what happens in the story, and there it is, right in verse 8. I'll read it again. Let us go out to the field. The field is a resource. It's not just ground, it's ground that has been tilled by the tiller of the ground, by Cain, the producer of produce. And yet, the field is a place that's known by Abel. Abel, a keeper of the sheep, a sheep herder, a shepherd, is familiar with the field. Potentially this field is a place that Abel uses to graze his flock. And here we have a potential key to the conflict, a shortness or shortage of resources. It's possible that a nomadic group using the same land as a pastoral group might be seen as interlopers, might be seen as trespassers. And there we have a conflict that we understand very well in history because we know that farmers and herders often clash over property rights. And in fact, governments almost always take the side of farmers because nomads are no man. They do not actually exist. They are people who do not have a place. They're homeless. And for that reason, they have to be gotten rid of, expropriated, exterminated. And that's what happens here. Cain kills his brother. And Cain is in partnership with the ground that opens its mouth to receive Cain's brother's blood from his own hand. And so his punishment, just as Adam and Eve were removed from the garden, is for Cain to be removed from the ground, for Cain to take the place of Abel, for Cain, a farmer, to become a nomad. In verse 14, a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. And now anyone who meets him, any farmers that Cain comes across, may kill him as well. And so the Lord gives him a mark of protection. And then Cain goes away from the presence of the Lord and settles in the land of Nod, the land of wandering.